Okay, hello world. Um, so this is our first stream together from the depths of Netherlands. We have just met like 5 days ago, 4 days ago,
About 4 days
four
ago.
days ago,
Yeah.
and yeah, now we have had some really good, interesting discussion about Buddhism and um, just how to relate to it, how to practice it, and what sort of wisdom you can draw from it, even if you're not necessarily a Buddhist yourself. So just exploring some wisdom that can be found there. So maybe you can just
A
introduce
little.
yourself a little bit
Yeah.
and just share maybe a little bit
Yeah.
what's been
Yeah.
going on these past few days.
Okay. Okay. Hey chat. Hey chat. Yes. Just as just as the I would like to know your Buddhist name one more time again. You just
Good,
told me to it.
Gutta Jina Wangso.
Guta Jina Wanso.
Mhm.
Yes. Just as I was introduced by Guta Jina Wanso. Yeah, my name is Abu. Yeah, simple lad. Comes from Zambia, Southern Africa. Uh, lived in Europe for about 4 years now, and I've learned a lot. You know, it's a constant journey of learning. Each conversation you embark on is like something very different for me. Yeah, especially coming from Africa and stuff. Yeah, and yeah, it's been very good times. And Guta Gina Wanso is but one of the people that I've come across in my time that that have had their own significant in his own way impact
Mhm.
to levels that he probably himself doesn't even know he has impacted me. But enough for us to be seated right now in front of you, uh, feeling like we have a little bit of information we can, diverge.
Yeah.
Not from me also, but mostly from our Gutajina Wanso. From the Gutajina Wanso.
I mean, I found it quite interesting. Like you've talked about your own childhood and upbringing and how you were sort of relating to religion, right, through
Yeah.
your parents and your mother and father, and how this has sort of like affected the way you relate to religion also. So
Yes.
maybe talk a little bit about this also.
Yes, yes. No, very interesting story. So just as I say, my name is Abraham Abubakar Kamara Muzumwa. Wow. Got a Muslim name there. Got a Christian name. Got an Afro traditional cultural name and stuff. So yeah, that should give you a bit of an idea. Yeah. So I was raised up in Zambia, and uh, my father unfortunately passed away when I was about 5, and he gave me the names Abu Bakr Kamara. He was Muslim, and my mother was Christian. So the word I think they say is my mother reverted to Islam from Christianity for the sake of obviously the union and like. But lo and behold, as soon as my father died, she turned back to Christianity. So I'm like, okay, trying to figure out this religion thing because I was also surrounded by a lot of Muslim people. I was
Hmm.
surrounded by a lot of Muslim people, but
Are
also
most people in Zambia like Muslim or Christian, or is it mixed, or how
yes,
is it?
Zambia is actually identified as a Christian nation.
Christian nation.
Yes, but the circles I was found in had a lot of Muslim influence,
Hmm.
I would say. Also, not forgetting that my father died, so I also had a lot of his relations around me
Relatives. Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
yeah.
help raise me up.
I see. I see.
Also, yeah.
Like uncles and like grandparents and
Exactly.
such.
Like, no,
Mhm.
we're gonna raise him up the way his father would have wanted. And mom was like, "What do you know about?" Yeah, there
Yeah.
was always the back and forth,
Mhm.
back and forth. So, it always brought me. The main thing that brought me started my journey of my whole journey about religion. I don't want to sound too philanthropical, but that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's a journey.
Mhm.
What brought me against this upon this journey of religion is that very question. I asked my mom one day. So I said, who goes to heaven? Is it dad or is it you? If I stay, I can ride with you from the Christianity. But are you guaranteeing we get to heaven? And if you guarantee we get to heaven, then where has dad gone? So there was always those two disparities, and she could never answer because one answer meant the other, and she was
Right.
never. I feel ready. God bless my mother. She's never ready. She was never ready to answer that in depth. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but God bless her. She also gave me the freedom, per
Mm-hmm.
se,
Yeah.
to discover both. She could have been a very firm African woman, says, no, you're going to follow what I say because I say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but she gave me a chance to discover both sides. I could go to the mosque. I
Mm-hmm.
could go to the, yeah. And now I'm talking to a Buddha.
Buddhism.
A Buddhist. A Buddhist, yeah. Yeah, that was about
Interesting.
that was about it. So yeah, that's a very question that brought me down to my journey of yeah, religion and figuring out what is what. Because I come from the place I come from. If you're not Christian, you're almost automatically a Satanist. You believe in a Buddha? No, 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 no. That is a false god or and everything. Yeah. So
I've heard it in America. It's in some places also the same. Like if you're not Christian or maybe like Jewish is like still okay-ish, but like everything else is like already seen as like
yes,
heresy or like very close to Satanism or something.
yes,
Everything just of the devil. And actually, like myself, I was also like a Christian for like maybe 4 or 5 years or so as a
okay,
teenager. And I also had like a very similar mindset in the sense that like, oh, like I am part of the pure flock and
yeah,
everybody else who follows, not just like non-Christians, but even like Christians who are like not part of my way of interpreting the Bible. If they interpret it in a different way, then that means they don't interpret like the Lord's word in the correct way, and so they must be like the devil tempting me
yeah,
away from the right
yeah,
path or something
yeah,
like this.
yeah.
And this was actually quite also impactful for me during my teenage years. As
So your parents were Christian?
they were Christian-ish, like they were not really much believers themselves.
Okay.
Like they sort of believed in like some God, and are like also a little bit superstitious. And but I got into church through a friend of mine. So he went to church like every Saturday and Sunday
Okay.
with his family. It was like a very small church, maybe like 5, 10 people.
Mm.
And so we went there together first every Sunday, and then I joined in also every Saturday for a few years. And at the end, I also started giving like some speeches myself, just reading in the Bible and then like
Okay.
saying how I understood it.
Yeah.
And um, yeah, so but at some point I I found like some had some problems with like the very traditionalist interpretation of the Bible, and so I became more and more liberal until at some point I thought like, okay, like at this point, do I even believe in the Bible anymore if I'm like taking it so liberally anymore? And yeah, so I had like some problems with like, okay, started reading like philosophers, and then I saw like, okay, like even if God says like, oh, this is what you should do, this is what the good this is what your meaning of life is, like this was something that I was sort of like pretty concerned about. I was thinking about death a lot and what meaning is there in life if we're all going to die,
Mm-hmm.
everyone we know is going to die. And so one of sort of my foundations was that, oh, there's this will of God and like his plan, and by submitting to this plan we like give our lives meaning.
Yeah.
But then I realized, okay, like even if God has a plan, we still have to like actively submit to it, right? So this is like still something where, in a sense, no, this is still like your freedom that you sort of have to make use of.
Mm-hmm.
That mm, you this fundamental sort of sense of meaning, um, I felt was still sort of externalized, like you're giving the meaning away, like you're giving it away to God, or you're giving it away to your children or to your work or to your money or whatever it is, right? You're sort of like externalizing it. But even like submitting to this God, it doesn't like fundamentally change that you still have to like make use of this. And how is the best way to make use of this doesn't like really get answered, even if there's like an objectively right choice,
Mm-hmm.
right? You still have like this indecisiveness about freedom. So I guess in a sense, I actually thought that getting true meaning in life would mean that you you don't have freedom anymore. In a sense, I don't know. Like
Oh,
I'm trying really to
yeah.
to understand, get into the mindset before, but I think like in a sense, like yeah, you're like just this cog in a machine that does like this thing, and this is like your meaning. So this is like in a sense very much this very modern way of thinking of where you think, oh, you have only meaning if you perform this function, and if you perform it
Yes.
well, then you are like good meaning, and otherwise it's like okay, maybe just a small meaning or whatever. But
Yeah. Very interesting term you used there.
mm,
Cog in a machine.
mhm,
Yes, because this machine again is never ending.
mm,
It's a constant trail of to keep on learning different uh, theologies, different because I when you talk about religions and the information and knowledge, you could sit down. I don't think it's ever ending.
mhm.
It's the process is actually to keep on receiving more and more information, more and more information, and yes, I think that's what has actually brought us here to this table
Yeah.
next to each other. And I was very impressed by the time that you spent in Thailand
Mhm.
as well, because usually when I get stories from people heading to Thailand, it's always the cliches and the like. But you showed me a different form of talent. You spent I think about 3 months in the monastery.
Yes.
Yeah, 3 months in the monastery, and you told me some very interesting ways the Buddhists go about their lives. We always we also have our own impressions about monks
Mhm.
and stuff, but I think very limited. After I've spoken to you, I've realized limited because for us we actually use the word monk, like you call that guy is a monk based on celibacy, for
Yeah. Yeah.
example. Yeah, he's a monk, but you've shown me that there's a whole lot more to
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
And like celibacy is one big part of it, right? So
Yeah.
this is something that like very much affects their everyday life. So especially in Thailand, the monks are not allowed to even touch women, right?
Okay.
So this is just like a precaution. This is not necessarily a rule that the Buddha set down, but he did not allow, for example, monks to touch women with a like mind full of lust, right? So
Okay.
this is actually like a pretty big deal. If a monk touches a woman, like any part, like even just like their hair or
Mm.
something, this is already something where like the whole community has to come together and they have to like discuss about it. How do they deal with this issue? So
Okay.
as a precaution of how maybe even it's like an innocent like touching, for example, if they receive something from the woman,
Yeah.
they always make sure that there's like not a chance that they might touch, because at the point of touch, maybe at that point, then they get a lustful mind, and that would
Mm.
already also be like not good,
The connection.
right?
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So in this sense, there's like it does affect their life pretty well, but this is just a small part, I would say. This is just a part of their training, right? So the Buddha has talked a lot about training the mind, about taming the mind, and celibacy is just one part of it, which helps you to um, really get to know your mind. Because in some ways, if you always follow what your impulses are, you don't really understand them. You don't really get to know them really. When it's like with, you know, some people maybe if they're like smoking something, they think, oh yeah, I could stop at any time.
Yeah.
But if they like actually had to stop,
Mhm.
then it becomes a problem, right? You don't really realize how addicted you are until the point that you have to give it up. Then you know, like, oh yeah, I could give up the smartphone, but then if you
Yeah.
actually have to do it, then like, oh, okay, this is more difficult than I thought.
I know one
Right.
or two things about
And
about that. About that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No.
So,
Would you so the point of no touching, would you quantify it in the same bracket as in Islam, and they decide also to cover up
the head.
their women per se?
I don't know
Is
much
it
about
also
this
to
one.
is it war? Because I know that is in the line of in Islam how it's put down is that uh, if I bring my wife around you per se,
Yes.
and you acknowledge her beauty and stuff,
Yes.
automatically the mind
Yes, like
sometimes can
possessive.
go,
Yeah.
yeah, can go the negative way,
I
just
see. Yeah, yeah.
just naturally. And the next thing is you see my wife there, and now next thing you're saying, oh, I wonder how she could be in. Yeah, the mind just
Yeah, yeah.
gets corrupted
I see.
in the
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, it goes sort of in the direction. So they have, for example, also rules about not being alone with women. So this is also a part where they are not allowed to be alone with another woman. So there has to
Okay.
be like another man present.
Okay.
So because otherwise, not only is it like about not trusting the monk and the woman, but
Hmm.
it's also about sort of preventing rumors from going around, right? So you want to not give even the possibility to arise, right? As you said, like maybe the first 10 times that they meet, it's like completely platonic and everything, but then at some point maybe something starts developing. Or,
Okay.
um, so in order to prevent this from happening and also to like make sure that they keep their focus on what is like important, like the Buddha's teaching and their training,
Yeah.
this is something that is not allowed for them.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. That's fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So, uh, I was also very interested on the five precepts,
Ah, the five precepts,
five
yes.
precepts per se that were put down for Buddhism in the say.
Yeah.
So I
So
think in Christianity we have the Ten
we
Commandments,
have the Ten Commandments.
and I
Yes.
found that the five precepts also covered up most of those.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So it's quite interesting. So first of all, these are like more like training rules that the Buddha has recommended for us to take upon ourselves. Right? He's not like a god that says like, oh, if you don't do this, you will be punished. But it is more like, okay, if you want to lead a good life for the benefit of yourself and others, then this is what you should do.
okay,
Right. So this is like in order to really live a human life and not just an animal life, this is what you need to do in order to like get the pleasure of being like a good person, you know.
okay, okay, okay.
So this is the first one to understand, and the second part that is interesting to understand is that he talks about um, restraining from bad actions, right? So he doesn't say like, oh, go out and do like these good things. He also talks about this, but not in this context of the five precepts, the five training rules,
Okay.
because the t- training of the mind he sees mainly in the starving out of our bad habits, right? So here we
Okay.
have like bad mental habits, and if we don't engage in them, like first with our body, with our speech, and finally even with our minds, if we don't engage in them, we starve out sort of the energy or like our habits of them.
Yeah.
And in this way, naturally, like the good habits will develop. We don't need to like actively do it, but just because the bad things go away, like the problem disappears, you could say. So this is like the second thing that is like interesting to keep in mind.
Well, are they graded in terms of importance?
I would
Does
say so,
one
yeah.
precept
It
does one
builds upon
precept
another kind of, yeah.
So what is the first precept?
So the first one would be to abstain from killing breathing creatures or living creatures. So, so not,
Sorry, man, I was streaming.
no.
No.
And yeah, so the first one would be about abstaining from killing living creatures. So the most obvious part of this is of course not killing human beings. Like this is the highest one. And this would include also abortion, but let's not get into that here. Um, so this is the most basic one because this is where you sort of realize that all all beings have like they attach to life, right? They value life, right? In a very basic sense, they want to have a good life. They want to like be able to have like freedom and all these kinds of things. And by killing them, you take this away from them, right?
Okay.
And so you need to by abstaining from it, you this very like biggest sense of how you can harm a human being or a living being just already is sort of guarded, right?
So that what you say is the most significant
Yeah,
is the killing.
that would be the most significant one in this sense. Or, I mean, of course, they interconnect with each other, right? So someone who is, for example, let's say the second one would be stealing, right?
Okay.
So let's say somebody is not killing, but he's stealing, right? He's
Yeah.
breaking into people's houses and stealing things. Just because he has this habit of stealing, he may come into a situation where he wants to cover up his stealing. And because he wants to cover it up and he's like in this like shock that he might kill, right? right? You might end up killing. So, of course, if you do one of these things, it is more likely that you will also do the other things, no matter where they are on the
Okay.
scale. Yeah.
And how does it go? How does it imply when it comes to repentance and the like?
Repentance.
That's
Oh,
one.
that's also quite interesting. Yes. So, um, the Buddha talks about how it is very important to be recognized a fault as a fault. So,
No
in a
matter.
sense, even more important than being blameless is being able to recognize when you have done something blameworthy and when you have done something that is not blameworthy. Like being able to recognize this and not like fooling yourself, not like making yourself some story or excuses or justifications about like, oh, but like if I didn't kill them, maybe they would have killed me or something. You know, you can make all sorts of like justifications. Some maybe um, more reasonable and some maybe less reasonable, right? But in the end, they are just like justifications, like you have killed a human being, right? And um, so this is like a very important part. But the next point is, then once you have recognized this, and then like, oh, okay, I have done this bad thing, then you start restraining yourself by realizing that it was something bad that you have done.
Mhm.
You take upon yourself, okay, but now I will not do this again. I will make this like my commitment, my I will from now on just do what I do can do because I cannot change the past, right? We cannot change the past, but what we can do is like make an effort to develop this value of not killing, and by making this like the foundation of our life, and like everything that else that we do is like based upon this core value of not killing, not stealing, right?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Okay. So with the first two,
Yeah,
the first preset I would say is first the killing.
the killing,
Yeah.
exactly.
Also, yeah, we also have that in the Bible and obviously in Islam. Do
Hmm.
not kill, thou shalt not kill, the like. And then the second one is stealing.
Stealing, yes. I mean, like to
Uh,
be more precise, it's not taking what has not been given.
it's
So
taking what has not been
it's a
given.
bit
Okay.
more nuanced than this, right?
So what has been given to us? What is of the earth?
Yeah, that is actually quite interesting.
Okay.
So for the monks, it has like a very specific meaning, especially in relation to food.
Okay.
So they are only allowed to receive food that has been like physically given to them with a gesture. So even if you like, there's like some food on the table, and the person whose food it is, like, oh yeah, you can take it, please. They are not allowed to eat this food. It has to be given them physically through this gesture. Um, for lay people, it is more obvious that they can like assume things, right? So if we are like, okay, like this is obviously intended for me, then we can take it. And also things like if you are, let's say you have a friend, and this friend is you might just borrow things, and you might know like it's okay, like we just borrow things from each other, then this is also okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with the monks, they have like sort of higher standard of what applies to that,
Okay. So for the monks, they're only allowed to take what has been given to them
especially in relation to food.
in
Yes,
relation.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. 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 So we are on to the third
Yes.
preset.
So the third one is abstaining from sexual misconduct. And what does sexual misconduct mean? So this is maybe something where different religions have like different interpretations of what that means.
Sex before marriage.
Exactly, it doesn't mean in some religions it don't mean it. In Buddhism, it means something quite specific. So one, it obviously means rape,
Okay.
and secondly, it means having sex with people with whom you're not supposed to have sex with, right? So this would mean, for example, if you are married to a person, not having sex with anybody else other than the person you are married to. Or otherwise, maybe you're not married, but somebody is married, not having sex with someone who is married. And not just married, but also in a relationship, right?
Okay. Okay.
So this would be one way. Another way is also if a person is under the guardianship of another person. So in the Buddha's time, this would mostly apply to like minors, right?
Okay. Okay.
So minors would be like under the guardianship of their parents or whoever. So this would be not allowed. But in a sort of like more broader sense, like even um, let's say nowadays people live together with their father and mother or something.
That
So
is
this
that is very
that
very
would
true.
kind of already
Yeah.
maybe still fall under this. So this is like more one of the sort of gray zones
So
where you
technically,
would
if your girlfriend lives with her parents, you're not
exactly, or at least you would need to get like
their
the
permission.
approval of the parents exactly. And I mean, if the girlfriend lives with the parents, then it would make sense for the sake of your relationship and for the sake of harmony between your girlfriend and her parents, etc., to also just get the permission, right? There might be,
Respectful.
yeah,
Cultural also depends, I'm sure. Different
yeah,
cultures and the like.
yeah. And maybe in relation to the parents, this is not one of the five precepts, but this is also something that the Buddha has talked about. How, in relation to your own parents, you should treat them the way you would treat like God or gods, right? You should. This is the way you should like cultivate your relationship to them because they have given you so much. This like very. He's given a very like stark simile
Yeah.
of how even if you were to like carry them around the world and you were like to massage them, you have like one on one shoulder, the other one on
Wash
the
their
other
feet.
shoulder, you massage their feet,
It's
you give
true.
serve them food. Even if you do that for 100 years, you would still not be able to pay back the debt that they have given for you.
Yeah.
So big is the debt that they have done for you.
Yeah.
Even if you were to make them like the king of the world and give them like all
You
the